Hello and welcome to another time of Bible teaching. Rapture. It can't be that far off. Listen to the fig tree. All right, yeah, the fig tree parable tells us so much. And unfortunately, it seems that we were all taught a certain way to look at it, and there was a few things missing um, in that. And that's what I want to get into. But I'm going to give an exhaustive look at this fig tree. We're going to look at this fig tree in a way that you may not have ever looked at it. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the traditional view and see that it doesn't work anymore. Then we're going to look at why is it that we say the fig tree is Israel, but we're going to go further than that. Not only is the fig tree Israel, but it's Israel into the Millennial Kingdom. And we get grafted into Israel, so it's us going into the Millennial Kingdom as well. We're going to look at the importance of fruit. Oh my goodness, got to have the right fruit. Don't want the wrong fruit. A good tree bears good fruit. Make sure you got the right fruit. And then we're going to look at how it really works, how there's a couple misunderstandings of Scripture that people have, and it puts everything in a new light. So I would ask you to stay with me through this because I think you're going to find this fascinating. I've done this teaching many times. And for those who are new and haven't heard the last few videos, I am contemplating writing a book. I've written a couple chapters, rough drafts. Will I ever get this book ready to go be published before the rapture happens? Who knows? Well, the Lord does. He does. But I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. I'm not promising anything. But as I write chapters, I'm going to teach on them because these teachings help me to bring things together so that I can put it into writing. So that's what the plan is. We'll see how it comes out. So let's go ahead and start with this fig tree generation. So where do we start? We start in Matthew 24, but to do that, we have to open up our Bible. So please, it's a Bible study. Open up your Bible and let's get started. So we're going to go to Matthew 24, and we have this parable right here. Learn this parable from the fig tree. I never thought about that. Now learn this parable. It's almost like a command statement. We're being commanded to learn this parable. When its branches already become tender and it puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all of these things, know that it is near at the door. Assuredly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. Interesting. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. Pius says that so many times. I guess he means that. Anyhow, so the last thing right before this was the coming of the Son of Man. Okay, that he's going to come on the clouds, and all the tribes will see him. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with great power and glory. That's at the end of tribulation when he's coming back, all the saints with him at Armageddon. Okay, so when it says that this generation will see all these things, obviously, it is not. This is at the end of tribulation. Okay. So this fig tree generation does not point to the rapture. It points to the second coming 7 years later. So what people would say is, okay, let's get a calculator here. What people would say, no, there we go. I can close that. What people will say is that, let's clear this, that, okay, Israel became a nation in 1948. And how long is a generation? Well, they would go to Psalm 90. Now, of course, everybody's looking at any other place to find out how long a generation is. But this is the one that we want to go to. Psalm 90. Is it 10? Yeah, the days of our lives were 70 years. If by reason of strength they are 80. So a generation, how long people live. Not because a generation biblically is 40 years. But how long do people live? Okay, that's because this generation will not pass. The whole generation passes when the people die off. So it's 80 years at most. So let's go back to our calculator. So we add 80 plus 80 equals 2028. So that's the, no, we forgot something. We have to subtract. Oh, I did that wrong. 1948 plus 80 equals, then we have to subtract 7. So this parable died in 2021. And I remember when that happened, people were like, ah, wait, the generation just turned that age. We got a whole nother year. So we can go to 2022. And guess what? That's 3 years ago. So there is a misunderstanding of something, and we will get to that by the end of this video. Bottom line, the fig tree generation is alive and well. All right. So we want to dig into, first of all, why is it that we say Israel is the fig tree? We'll come back to this calculator later. So from there, we want to go to Hosea 9:10. Hosea 9. I found Israel like grapes in the wilderness. I saw your fathers as first fruits on the fig tree in its first season. They went to Baal Peor and separated themselves to that shame. They became an abomination like the thing they loved. Anyhow, so it was Israel that was first fruits on the fig tree in its first season. That was their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob type fathers. So anyhow, so they're the first fruits on the fig tree. Notice how we're talking about the fig tree in Israel, but it also mentions what else? Fruit. Very important. All right, where else do we want to go? Let's go to Micah 4. I love this one. Because this tells you that this generation, this fig tree generation, takes you right into the millennial kingdom. Now it shall come to pass in the latter days, that's actually the end of days, the last day, the day of the Lord, in that day, that last 1,000-year period, it starts with the rapture and tribulation. That would be the last day, that latter days. The mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on the top of the mountains and shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow to it. So this is Zion, when Messiah is reigning in the throne of David in Jerusalem. And that mountains are kingdoms prophetically, will be above all the other kingdoms and smaller like little townships or the hills, above everybody else. Okay, so we're definitely in the millennial kingdom. And we know that because as we keep reading, many nations shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He, Messiah, will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. For out of Zion, yes, it is Zion. It's not Zion. Zion is a different word in Hebrew. For out of Zion, by the way, my teacher, I don't know what the other word is. My teacher teaches advanced Hebrew. So that's how I know that. But anyhow, for out of Zion, the law, Torah, shall go forth, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. So what's Messiah going to be teaching? Torah. A lot of people ain't going to like it. I've been just texting back and forth with somebody who is just like anti-law, anti-Torah. Oh my goodness. He really don't like it. And he's not going to like the millennial kingdom either, because that's what Messiah is going to be teaching. But anyhow, he shall judge between the peoples and rebuke strong nations afar off. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Why does the UN put that on their thing? That's something Messiah is going to do. And the UN like has it as their logo. Are they trying to say that they can do what Messiah is going to do? Yeah, it's not working too well, is it? Not at all. Anyhow, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, nor shall they learn war anymore. but everyone will sit under his vine and under his fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. For the mouth of the Lord of hosts has spoken. When you see Lord of hosts, that's an end times prophecy. It doesn't have to be in the last 1,000 years, but it tells you that that's an end times prophecy. But for all people shall walk in the name of his God. Ooh, that's not good. But we will walk in the name of the Lord, our God, forever and ever. I always love forever and ever. Like forever is not enough. For all people shall walk in the name of his God. That's not good. Oh, that's not good at all. Little g. Bad gods, bad gods. So under the fig tree is a picture of being in the millennial kingdom. That is an idiom that they would have understood in that day. Okay. So from here, so just hold on to that. We're going to come back to that one. But go to Zechariah 3. I forgot what's in Zechariah 3, but I have it written down to go to, so let's go there. Zechariah 3, verse 10. In that day, says the Lord of hosts, everyone will invite his neighbor under his vine and under his fig tree. All right, let's go to John. The calling of some of the disciples here in John 1. I didn't go there to see where I wanted to start. We'll start right here. Philip and Nathanael. The following day, Jesus wanted to go to Galilee, and he found Philip, and he said, "Follow me." Now, Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Now, Philip found Nathanael and said, "We have found him, of whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." And Nathanael said to him, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Philip said to him, "Come and see." So this guy, Nathanael, Nathanael seems like he's kind of a skeptic here, right? Can anything good come out of Nazareth? I think this later on the Pharisees will say the same thing. Jesus saw Nathanael coming towards him, and he said to him, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no deceit." Wow. They've never met. Nathanael's never seen this guy. And this guy says that. I mean, where are you coming off saying that? Nathanael said to him, "How do you know me?" Jesus answered, "Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you." Nathanael answered and said to him, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Jesus answered and said to him, "Because I say to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? You will see greater things than these." See, Nathanael got what being under the fig tree meant. And it totally changed his outlook. And that's what should happen. If you have an encounter, a conversation, a meeting, a real meeting with Messiah, it should totally change your outlook. Yeah, if you're the same as before you met him, did you really meet him? I don't know. But anyhow, I like that. He went from, can anything good come out of Nazareth, to, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. Wow. So under the fig tree is a picture of the millennial kingdom. So not only is the fig tree all about Israel, but it is also about being in the millennial kingdom. And that's where that fig tree generation takes us, is into the millennial kingdom. Okay, so now we want to talk about fruit. That with fig trees, it's all about fruit. And we're going to take our time doing this one. I hope you don't mind. But let's go to Mark. And we're going to look at Mark 11. And we're going to go from, what do I got? 1 and then 12 to 24. Now, when they drew near to Jerusalem, to Bethpage and Bethany on the Mount of Olives, he sent two of his disciples. Okay, where is he? He's on the Mount of Olives. That's important. So just keep that in your thinking, that they're in Mount of Olives. And this is when he's about to, and that's where he was staying. And he goes into his triumphal entry on Palm Sunday into Jerusalem, where he's the Passover lamb. He's going to be examined for 4 days, just like the Passover lamb would be before he is sacrificed, because they had to make sure there was no blemishes on him. And I love that one line, like, because everybody who's anybody is questioning him, trying to find fault in him. And it got to a point where they just said, and no one dared ask him another question or something like that. Let me find that for you real quick. I think it's really cool. Give me a second. Here it is. It's in Matthew 22, verse 46. And Noah was able to answer him a word, nor from that day on did anyone dare question him anymore. Because they're questioning about Torah. They're questioning about what's in the law. And guess what? He's the author of it. He is it. What do you mean that he is Torah? In the beginning was the word, Torah, that word from the beginning. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. John 1:14, that word became flesh. All right. Let's go back to Luke. Or excuse me, to Mark. And we're going to skip down to verse 12. Now, the next day, when they had come out of Bethany, he was hungry. Okay. And seeing a fig tree, and seeing from afar a fig tree having leaves, he went to see if perhaps he would find something on it. What would be on it? Fruit. He's looking for fruit. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. In response, Jesus said, "Let no one eat from you ever again." And his disciples heard it. What's interesting, and I always looked at that, I'm like, fig tree? Wasn't the season for figs? That word seasons has a different meaning, or can have a different meaning. A measure of time, larger, smaller portion of time, hence due measure, a fixed, definite time when things are to be brought to a crisis, opportunity, or seasonable time. So it's that it was not the season for the fruit on that tree. The right time, limited period of time, the state of the times, things, yeah, but it can also mean it is not the time of the year for that tree to be producing figs. But also not just the time, but the time of the season. And it's that for Israel, it was not the time for them to be producing fruit. And Messiah and the Pharisees back and forth. Messiah basically at one point said, you go out and like do all this stuff to get one convert and you make them twice the son of Satan as you are. Oh, that's got to sting. All right. So then Messiah goes through and cleanses the temple. He had a little temple tantrum. Imagine if it was McDonald's. He went in, kicked over all the registers, all the fryers and everything. I mean, it's that radical. Um, but see, we're going into Passover. And one of the things that would be done in a Passover, in the season of Passover, is that the son they would clean the leaven out of the Father's house. And that's what Messiah is doing. He is cleaning the leaven, the pagan idolatry, out of the Father's house. But then we come back. Now in the morning, as they passed by, so where are they as the morning? And so they're waking up in the morning. They are in, where are they at? Bethany, which is on the Mount of Olives. Okay, and then they're passing. Now in the morning, as they passed, they saw the fig tree dried up from its roots. That's important. It's not just that the leaves died, the showy stuff on the outside, but from the root all the way down to the base of everything, it was dead. This is a picture of Israel at that point in time. And Peter, remembering, said to him, Rabbi, look, the fig tree which you curse has withered away. And Jesus said to them, have faith in God. For surely, oh, I like that. So don't worry, it doesn't affect you. Have faith in God. Just trust. You're good. For surely I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, and who does not doubt in his heart, but believes that those things he says will be done, he will have whatever he says. But I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you received them and you will have them. And the problem that people make with this prayer, and they say this like, and I've had guys at Bible studies like, well, I believed it, I prayed it, and it didn't happen. Well, we got to get our will in line with Father's. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Okay, so we're supposed to be trying to get things done on earth as they are in heaven, not trying to get heaven to do things on earth that we want done. So it's on earth as it's in heaven. Okay, so we need to align our prayers. But it's interesting. All of this, and he starts talking about a mountain. And it says, this mountain, that's a specific mountain. What mountain are they looking at? They're looking at Jerusalem, the kingdom of heaven, the Lord's mountain. That's what they're looking at. That's what's getting thrown. This is not like us. We're not supposed to go out and have like contests of faith and have mountain throwing contests. No, 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 no. This actually is going to take us back to Daniel. So let's go to Daniel 2. And again, it's about the fruit, but I just wanted to walk through this a little bit. Probably not going to put all this in the book, but you get this. If there is a book, and I don't want to keep saying that I'm going to do it because I don't know if it'll ever come to fruition. I hope it will. And I thank you guys for your encouragement. And yes, I appreciate it. And yes, I will send you a copy. In so much as you saw, this is the statue in Daniel 2. You have Babylon, the head. Then you have Babylon, the Medo-Persian Empire, Greece, Rome, and then you have the feet, which I believe is the one to come, and the 10 toes, which are the 10 kings that have yet to receive a kingdom. So that goes all the way into the Millennial Kingdom, okay? So, and then in this dream, there was a stone that was cut without human hands that strikes the image on the toes, on the feet and on the toes. And so it says, in so much as you saw the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and it was broke, and it broke to pieces, the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold. And the great God has made it known to the king what will come to pass after this. The dream is certain and the interpretation is sure. So that stone is Messiah's kingdom coming when he comes back at Armageddon and he destroys all of those kingdoms. All of the pagan kingdoms at that time get destroyed. That's what this teaches of. This is that mountain that's going to be thrown. Because we'll see elsewhere, we see that this stone becomes a great mountain in here. So let's go. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I want to look at one other thing real quick as we do this. Go to Matthew. It's just kind of cool. We're talking about mountains. And this is just kind of a neat tie-in. I know I'm drifting a little ways into a rabbit hole, but that's okay. Or a rabbit trail. Matthew 16, we're going to look at verse 18 through 20, and I want to explain this a little bit. You guys know this one probably. Let's go back to 13, give it some context. When Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi, that's important. That's very, very important because it tells us exactly where he is. He asked his disciples, saying, who do men say I am? Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, is? He's saying who he is. He's the Son of Man. That goes back to Daniel. That means that he is God. But anyhow, so they said, some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. And he said to him, but who do you say that I am? Simon Peter answered and said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Ding, 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 ding. You got one right. And Jesus answered and said to him, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah. That's just son of Jonah. No, not that Jonah. For flesh and blood has not received this, I'm sorry, has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I also say to you that you are Peter, that's a small stone, and on this rock, huge immovable boulder, I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Okay. So you have to understand, being in Caesarea Philippi, they're right next to a place called Mount Hermon or Mount Hermon, um, which is here. And this is a place known as the Gate of Hell, which is in Mount Hermon. This is in Caesarea Philippi. This is right where they are. And this is a cave that would go down into the mountain. I believe it's the headwaters of the Jordan River. And there was a little guy, Pan, a goat guy, a goat god type guy, sex thing, whatever, yuck. And people would go in there and they'd cut like little crevices into the rock and put their little idols and their different things in there. It was a really, really pagan place. So picture with me this huge stone mountain. I am told it's very much like Stone Mountain in Georgia. I was there once as a little kid. I don't remember it. But it's a lot like Stone Mountain in Georgia. There's this big mountain of stone. And Messiah is saying, hey, I've got this little seed. This first person, Peter, who has said who I am, and he's got it right. And that he's going to build, that Messiah is going to build his kingdom, his mountain, because the mountains are above all the other mountains on this. And this mountain of Satan will not prevail against it. It's actually kind of cool when you put together the whole, all the imagery here. So let's go back to Mark. And I will say to you, and I will give you the keys of the kingdom. And whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed on heaven. And then he commanded the disciples that they should not tell anyone that he was Jesus the Christ, because it's not his time to die yet. Okay. And if everybody gets out and they're saying, this is Jesus the Christ, this is the Messiah, this is this, the Pharisees are going to try to kill him because he's a threat to them. All right. But let's go back up here. To bind on earth and to whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed on heaven. This is actually the right to interpret Torah by sitting on Moses's seat. And it goes back to the Old Testament. And that is basically what you say is going to be in effect on heaven and earth. When Messiah is blasting, roasting, having a Pharisee and a sage roast, oh my goodness. In Matthew 23, I believe it is, what he says to them, therefore I tell you, Jesus spoke to the multitudes and his disciples saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. Therefore, whatever they tell you to observe, that observe and do. But do not do according to their works, for they say and they do not do. So what is he saying? They're hypocrites. Don't trust you. Don't follow them. But they sat on Moses' seat. Messiah is saying that power, that right to sit on Moses' seat is going to be taken from the Pharisees and given to the early church. Unfortunately, the church today has taken sitting on the Moses' seat to interpret Torah. Their decision was just to trash it and get rid of it, not what was supposed to happen. Let's go one more place looking at fruit, and then we're going to get back into this about the fig tree generation. Let's go to Luke. I was troubling with my notes. Luke 13, 6 and 7. And he spoke a parable. Actually, it was more than that. He spoke a parable, and a certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard. And he came seeking fruit on it and found none. Okay, now this is all about Israel. Okay, and this is the Lord looking for fruit in Israel, and he's having trouble finding it. Then he said to the keeper of the vineyard, that would be the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the ruling elite, look, for 3 years I have come seeking fruit on the fig tree, and find none. Cut it down. Why does it use up the ground? But he answered and said to him, Sir, let it alone this year. Also, I dig around it and fertilize it. And if it bears fruit, well, but if not, after that, you can cut it down. It'd be neat if I could like place exactly where the timing of this is in Messiah's ministry. Is it a year before he gets crucified? I don't know. It's just a thought that came across me. But the point is that Messiah wants fruit. What is fruit? What is fruit for Messiah? Is Israel becoming a nation fruit? That's the question. I would say no. It wasn't fruit then. It's when the Jews are becoming believers in Messiah. That is the fruit. Okay. So let's go back to Matthew 24, and there are two things that are misunderstood in this prophecy or this parable. We always have to remember that parables are made to get a point across. They're not made to be like play-by-play game calls like you might get as a somebody calling a sporting event. Now learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and it puts forth leaves, so it's beginning to put forth leaves, you know that summer is near. That's the start of the parable. But nobody ever mentioned that to me when we looked at when I was taught what the fig tree meant, Israel becoming a nation. See, in Israel, fig trees can produce fruit, before their leaves fully develop. This unique growth pattern allows the tree to maximize its fruiting potential early in the growing season. Typically, figs produce fruit late in spring, but the first crop, known as the Briba, I can't do that without messing everything up, and the main harvest usually coming late summer and early fall. So it starts to produce fruit. The fig tree starts to produce fruit before it puts out leaves. In 1948, and that's people coming to Messiah, in 1948, that wasn't happening. You follow me? There was no fruit in 1948. And, we can go through and look at all kinds of things, but for me and what I've seen is that there wasn't any real fruit coming, and it doesn't have to be all of Israel being like repentant and saved and following Messiah. I've had a lot of people that are like, this isn't Israel. If this was Israel, they'd be following Messiah. Well, you know what? They're not going to get it corporately until midway through tribulation when they say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Yeah, a little before midway in tribulation. But so it's in the 1960s during the Jesus movement that a lot of Jews started becoming followers of Messiah when the Messianic movement began in Israel. And I always think, well, is Israel Israel if it doesn't have, is Israel Israel if it doesn't have Jerusalem? I tend to think it's not. And I would put 1967 as the start of that fig tree generation. Now, the question is, am I right? I don't know. All right. But that's what I would think, that it needs Jerusalem. Now, the next question is, how long does this fig tree generation last? And it's not how long is a generation, it's how long does the fig tree generation last? How long do people live? That's basically the question. So let's go to Psalm. Yeah, actually, you know what? This is kind of cool, though, to think that imagery, okay, this imagery of this gate of hell, and as Messiah is saying this, they're standing next to a place that's known as the gate of hell, and the imagery that he uses, and a lot of times not getting the context of the day, not getting the context of what the people hearing the words of Messiah would have known. we don't get what's really being said. I'm sorry. Let's go back to where were we going? Psalm 90. And there's something else in here. And this is the second thing that people seem to miss. In Psalm 90, for the days of our lives are 70 years, or if by reason of strength they are 80 years. Yet their boast is only labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off and we fly away. Some people take this we fly away as the rapture. Yep. I actually believe it's being brought into the Millennial Kingdom because we know the end of this generation is the Millennial Kingdom. And there'll be a gathering where the angels bring, and we'll go there in a minute, but that angels will be bringing people into the Millennial Kingdom, into Israel at that point in time. But it's this right here. For it is soon cut off. Let me see something real quick. All right, so it is soon cut off. That means it doesn't go the full distance. That fig tree generation is not going to go 70 to 80 years. Okay, so now we can go back to our calculator and do some math. Give me a second. All right, so let's go back to the calculator and let's clear it out. Let's say, okay, 1967 is the start point for that generation, just there. And it's going to get, it's not 70 to 80, it's going to be something less than that. Let's pick out a random number. Okay, so it's not random. Let's say it was 66 equals, and then you subtract 7 years for tribulation, and you come to 2026. The rapture could be next year. Now, this doesn't give us an exact date, and to be honest, there is no way that I think that we know exactly biblically when that that fig tree generation started, when God says Israel was producing fruit, nor do we know how many years are going to be cut off from that fig tree generation. Even if it is, and I do think the 1967 is cool. 7. Let's say it was they cut 5 years off and it became 75 minus 7, 2035. I don't think it's that many. I mean, I don't know what it is. But even if that's what it is, it doesn't have to go that far. It doesn't have to go that long. So it's in the, my guess is it's in the next few years. I actually would say the next 5 years. I don't know. I don't know, but it's close and it can be next year. And that's what I'm going to be looking forward to. Now, I did mention the flying away. So let's go to Matthew 24 and look at that something real quick. Matthew 24. And he will gather his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. This is north, south, east, west. This is gathering people into the millennial kingdom. That's what happens after Messiah comes back. The elect, the saints, those who belong to him. There'll be people coming with him, but there'll be people on earth. And this also includes gathering up and bringing with him the tribulation saints, the people who were killed because they would not take the mark of the beast. And we see this gathering in Isaiah. What a beautiful passage in Isaiah 11. I'm not going to get, there's so much in Isaiah 11. I'm not going to get into it all, but here we go. Isaiah 11. There shall come forth a rod from the stem of Jesse, and from the branch will grow out of his roots. This actually tells us that Messiah will be in Nazareth, the Nazarene. That's where you get this from. Long story. These are the seven spirits. It's actually not seven spirits. It's the seven attributes of the Holy Spirits. Um, and But with righteousness, and this is about the millennial kingdom. And now you're going to see some of the wording here for the Beatitudes. And the Beatitudes in Matthew 5 is a picture, a description of the people that will be in the millennial kingdom. But with righteousness, he shall judge the poor and decide the equity, and will decide with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth. That's Messiah coming back in Psalm 2 and speaking. He speaks a word. It's over. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine how much shaking that would do in the earth? I was talking to somebody about that the other day. They said they talked about this dream about the earth shaking, but the air actually shaking. And he speaks and it's over. That's Armageddon. That's going to do some real shaking. Anyhow, in the breath of his lips, he shall slay the wicked. Um, Righteousness shall be the belt of his loins, and faithfulness the belt of his waist. The wolf shall lie down, shall dwell with the lamb. Aren't they supposed to be enemies? Yeah, but not anymore. The leopard shall lie down with the young goat, and the calf and the young lion, and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall graze, and the young ones shall lie down together. And the lion shall eat straw like the ox. Talk about peace and harmony on the earth. The nursing child shall play by the cobra's hole. I don't like that. And the weaned child shall put his hand in the viper's den. I don't like that. I don't like spiders and snakes, and that's not what it takes. Okay, I'm playing. Um, I put a song in your head, you're not going to be able to get it out of your head all day long. But I'm not particularly keen about snakes. No, I'm not snake phobic or whatever you would call that, or arachnic phobic. I don't care for them. You shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain. That's that mountain that's above all the other mountains. For the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover over the sea. That is in the millennial kingdom. In that day there shall be a root of Jesse. That's Messiah. He's that root of Jesse. That who shall stand as a banner, a rallying point to this people. For the Gentiles shall seek him. For the Gentiles too. And his resting place will be glorious. And that's when he sits on the throne of David with his feet on the ground in the midst of the children of Israel forever. Ezekiel 43, verse 7. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand a second time to recover the remnant of his people. And again, that's like the four winds of heaven, north, south, east, west. When was the first time? Babylon, when he brought them back. And he will set up a banner, a rallying point for the nations, and will assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. This is the setting up of the millennial kingdom and gathering everybody into the millennial kingdom. And I believe that is, if you go back to Psalm 90, that is the we will fly away. Anyhow, I thank you guys for watching. May God bless you. If you got questions, ask. Take care.